I wanted to do this quick video and tutorial to talk about a really kind of interesting point about guitar playing, solo guitar playing. You'll notice that here in this particular example, I've got this part, this bass line, which is fairly simple, and a melody line that is remarkably simple too. And I found it really interesting how difficult it was to combine those two elements at the same time. And I found a similar process and a similar solution for fixing this and creating an arrangement when I was practicing piano many years ago, doing like the Charlie Brown thing. You'd think that you could learn the left hand and learn the right hand and simply put the two parts together, but that's not exactly how it works. The process of playing things with interesting rhythms simultaneously requires you to think of them linearly. You literally need to understand which element is happening precisely before which elements in a very linear way. They're not independent. So for example, here on Lowrider, as I write through, I actually transcribed the melody line in an upper voice of finale and the bass line in a lower voice in finale, so I could notate them and read them at the same time. So for example, that first melody note is at the same time as the root note. And this might seem kind of arduous, but it's really the only way I've found to solve this problem. So essentially you've got the melody note B at the same time as the melody note with the bass note F, melody note B with the same note as the G. Then you have the melody note alone, and then you have the melody note with the B flat, and the melody note alone, and then the melody note C at the same time with the bass note C, the melody note D at the same time with the bass note D, bass note alone F, melody note with G with the bass note D. Then you've got the melody note B at the same time with the bass note F, followed by the bass note D, followed by the melody C, followed by the F bass line note by itself, followed by the G and the B. This is the melody note and the bass line note. Then the bass line note F by itself, and then the bass line note G at the same time as the melody note G. And then you conclude what's left of that bass line, and then you start that again. Now this next part is kind of interesting. The melody line, I wanted to keep it in that register, which interferes with the second half of the bass line. So in sort of a cheat, what I did is I just repeated the first half of the bass line. So again, you've got the melody note F at the same time as the bass note F, and then the melody note G at the same time as the bass note G. Then you have the melody note F by itself, followed by the melody note and the bass line at this B flat at the same time, followed by the melody note F by itself, bass note C by itself, bass note D by itself, and then I just repeated that sequence. And then I've got that ending with the F, G, and here at this point the bass line and the melody are both on F, followed by the bass line and the melody both on G, and then I complete that bass line, and that's how that works. And so I was more than I could process in my mind at the time, so I was kind of required to write it out so I could figure out how to do this kind of thing. I've worked out similar things in the past. I hope you found this useful and enjoyed the video.